What's going on, everybody? Welcome to episode number 20 of Trail Tales. I can't believe I'm already 20 episodes in. My name is Kyle O'Grady, and I am a thru-hiker and a peak bagger. I hiked the AT this past summer, and this is the podcast where I chat with other thru-hikers, peak baggers, ultra runners, and all-around hiking nerds about their experiences on the trail. Now today I am joined by Ramblin Rosie. She hiked the Appalachian Trail this past summer, that is the summer of 2018, and we talk about a bunch of different stuff all related to the AT. We talk about what it's like to thru-hike when you are married with a spouse at home. We talk about the 4-state challenge on the AT, and we also give some advice for those of you that are starting out your thru-hikes. Maybe you've even started already. Just some advice on how to stay healthy at the beginning of your hike and not overdo it. Rosie, thank you so much when you hear this for coming on the show. Thank you for not making fun of me when I completely butcher a couple questions in this one. Definitely wasn't my best episode when it comes to that, but it was still an awesome chat. I think it was pretty funny. And yeah, Rosie, just thank you so much for being willing to come on and share your story. We're going to get into the conversation in just a second here, but first, those of you that listen to the show every week know that I like to bug you with a couple things before the conversation starts, and one of those things is 5-star iTunes reviews, but this week, you're in luck because I'm not going to bug you about it. A listener named Nick is going to bug you about it, because Nick recorded a little jingle asking for 5-star reviews, and he sent it to me. He said he got drunk one night and just kind of did it, so I think it's hilarious, and we're going to listen to it right now.
Please give me a 5-star review so other people know I'm a pretty good dude. Please give me a 5-star review so other people know I'm a pretty good dude. Please give me a 5-star review so other people know. Isn't that just great? I think that's so funny. If anybody else wants to send me a jingle like that, or actually at the end of the episode, I mentioned that somebody should send me a jingle for the Storytime segment. I think it'd be kind of funny to play a fan song right before that part of the show starts, so you should definitely do that. You can send it to trailtalespod@gmail.com. Even if you don't have a song, you can still send me an email. Why don't you send me an email and tell me where you're from? I can actually see all the data about the states and the countries that the show is downloaded in. I know for a fact that there's some people out in other countries besides the US that listen to this. I know there's some people in the UK and Australia and New Zealand and a bunch of other places. I know there's people all across the US as well, so I may be a hiking nerd, but I'm also kind of a geography nerd. I spend a lot of time kind of fucking around on Google Maps, so I would love to hear about where you're from and all that stuff. Yeah, send me an email, trailtalespod@gmail.com. Instagram is a thing as well, @trailtalespod. Twitter, same handle, @trailtalespod. I have a Facebook. I started to post on there, or I posted once on there at least. If you just search Trail Tales, I think it'll come up, maybe. I've got 1 like on there right now, which is kind of sad, but also kind of funny, so maybe we can get up to like 3 or 4 by the end of the week. I don't know. Go like Trail Tales on Facebook as well. The last thing I want to say before we get into the conversation here is there is a Patreon for Trail Tales. Now, I know, you're about to hit the skip button. You're about to skip forward 30 seconds, but don't do that. I'm going to try to make my pitch a little bit more entertaining this time. What I'm going to do is I have a random word generator pulled up in front of me right now, and I'm going to just generate a random word, and using that word, I'm going to try to give like a 15-second pitch on why you should support the show on Patreon. It might be super cringe, it might be really stupid, but I'm going to try it. So here we go. I'm clicking the button right now. Okay, the word is protest. So I know a lot of you might protest spending money on unnecessary things like some douchebag's podcast, but it really helps because I spend a lot of time and a little bit of money as well on this show. I don't make anything from it, except for the $9 that Scott, my only Patreon supporter, has given me so far. So Scott, you're the man. Thank you for that. But yeah, don't protest this any longer, and please help support the show on Patreon. You'll get a bonus episode and some bloopers and some other bullshit. All right, let's do it. Time for the show. Episode number 20 with Ramblin Rosie. That's what she goes by. I'm not making fun of her by saying that. Ramblin Rosie, Appalachian Trail class of 2018. Okay, episode 20, round 2. Here we go. So far, so good. I'm here with Ramblin Rosie. That is her name on Instagram. Her real name is Kaylee. She hiked the Appalachian Trail this past summer. We think we maybe passed each other, but probably not. I don't know.
Maybe not.
We were kind of trying to figure out if and where that happened, but I'm not really sure. So we're just gonna leave it as a big maybe. But no, she hiked the Appalachian Trail this past summer, and she was nice enough to come on and do a little episode of this podcast after a random out of the blue Instagram direct message. So Rosie, thank you so much for that. How's your evening going so far?
Yeah, it's good. Right now I'm prepping for doing some hiking in Big Bend in West Texas. We'll leave tomorrow, so it's a good evening.
Oh, nice. I didn't even know Texas. Actually, that's not true. I've heard about the Lone Star Trail before, but I don't really know too much about Big Bend. Like, what's that all about?
It's mostly canyons. I don't know. I've never been before. I was born and raised in Texas, but I don't know anything about it, guiltily. Yeah, I'm from East Texas, so Texas is pretty big.
Yes, it is.
But we'll see.
Yeah, you got to let me know how it is, because I'm always looking for new places to branch out to, especially states that I haven't spent a lot of time in. Although I did go to Texas when I was a lot younger, like almost every major city there except for like El Paso. My family, we just did a big old tour around Texas, and I don't remember much because I was probably
really
why? I was probably like, oh geez, like maybe like 12. I don't even know. I was real young, but I do remember a place called, it's either Ruby's or Rudy's Barbecue. I think it was
Rudy's Barbecue. Yeah.
I still remember that. I don't remember anything else from that trip. Maybe the Alamo. I remember that a little bit too.
But you remember the barbecue. That sounds about right.
Barbecue. And
let me just say, shout out Mouse King. You hear that, South Carolina?
Texas is cool. Texas is cool. But we're not here to talk about Texas too much more. We're going to talk about thru-hiking and all that good hiking stuff for all the hiking nerds that listen to this bullshit. Okay, first question. Getting the interview going here. So Rosie, I kind of want to know, how did you learn about thru-hiking and long-distance backpacking?
Yeah, so like I said, I'm from Texas, so it's not something that I grew up with, really. I feel like it's kind of an East Coast thing or a West Coast thing. So you got the AT and the PCT, and those are a little more well-known. But my husband's military, and so we were living in Virginia for just 10 months. And while we were there, we were doing a lot of camping in Shenandoah. And I don't know, just randomly while we were hiking through some trails in Shenandoah, I was like, this is Appalachian Trail on it. I feel like I've heard that name before, but I don't know what that is.
Right.
I got home and I just started researching, and that's when I discovered there's a whole culture to it. And because we were only going to be there for 10 months, we were only going to be living in Virginia for 10 months, and I didn't bother getting a job. I quit my job before we moved to Virginia.
Okay.
Yeah. And because I didn't want to get a job and like screw a company over 10 months later, I was like, okay, what am I going to do with this time? And mostly it was like walking in woods behind my house, which is like super weird to say, and then doing some freelance editing. And I was just like, might as well give this a go.
Yeah, why not?
Yeah.
So how long after you discovered like what the AT was, did you actually like set out to thru-hike?
Oh gosh. Okay, so I never set out to thru-hike really.
Wait, what?
Yeah. I always knew that it was a possibility, but that's not really how I framed it. It's not how I wanted to go about it. Like I said, I discovered what the AT was just while walking around Shenandoah, and I thought, hey, I'm spending most of my time in the woods anyway. Why don't I go down to Georgia and and give it a go. But it wasn't like, okay, let me give the whole AT a go. It was more like, okay, what's a goal that I would be proud of, that I think is realistic? Because I had never really done backpacking before, besides like a high school trip that was very much like chaperoned and like spoon fed to us.
Right.
And so I started out with just wanting to do 100 miles. And then I was always open to, if I want to do more, then I can. And I'll just keep like checking in with myself. Am I happy still doing this? Do I still want to hike? I didn't want to make myself do something that I absolutely hated or wasn't enjoying, or like was just doing. I was never about like, okay, Katahdin in the distance, like that's my goal. Which, by the way, like I think that's so awesome that some people are like that and they do think that way. But for me, it was more about like whatever mountain I was on, and I just set short-term goals for myself, and then would check in like, okay, am I still happy doing this? Do I still want to be out here doing this? And the answer was always weirdly yes.
And thus you made it the whole way.
Yeah, and thus I found myself at the base of Katahdin looking up at it like, what?
That's crazy. So at first I thought you kind of meant there that you just like went to do a section and then you were like, I guess I'll just go the whole way. But that makes a little bit more sense. I feel like maybe this is just like me, I guess, but it must have been like in the back of your mind somewhere that like, you know, you still like must have had some desire to like do the whole thing, I guess. Even if you didn't want to just like commit yourself to it, I guess. I don't know. Oh my God. I'm only 2 beers in.
No, you're good. This is what I get for pushing it an hour. You're making me feel better.
No, it's okay. Yeah, I don't even know where I was going with that.
No, well, you said you were trying to get at that maybe somewhere in the back of my mind I wanted to do the full thing, but I wouldn't like commit to it. Really?
Hear this, folks? I don't even have to ask the questions anymore. Rosie just knows what I'm gonna ask. I'm just gonna mute my microphone But no, that's pretty much what I was going for. Yeah.
Well, the only reason I know you're trying to ask that is because I was kind of accused of that a lot, and a lot of people thought that maybe I didn't want to look at it like the full trail because then I'm not risking failure, and that is totally a fair critique or question. And I don't know. I didn't feel like I was ever without goals, and I always knew that it was a possibility. And yeah, is there a part of me that would like love to be staying on top of Katahdin? Like for sure, you know, who doesn't desire that? But for me, it was more about like, I don't ever want to put that goal above what I'm doing with my life. Like I very much like to look at whatever it is I'm doing as an if rather than like a win. And I was corrected by even like people in towns. They would always say, I would frame it like, if I make it to Katahdin, and they would always say, when you make it, when you make it. Yeah. And I'm like, okay, you know, that's great. Like power of positive thinking. If you want to look at it like that and that helps you, look at it like that. But for me, I always want the option to know that I'm choosing what I'm choosing. I don't want to feel like I'm stuck, if that makes sense.
No, like, that definitely makes sense. I think one of the reasons I had such a hard time like framing that question is because like it's just very different from the way I came at it. Some of the regular listeners will probably know that I've mentioned before that I was like very much in the opposite camp. Like right from the get-go, I was like, okay, like if I don't get injured, like I'm doing this entire thing.
You're gonna make it.
Exactly.
Yeah, which is totally admirable too.
Right. But I just think that's like so interesting that you came at it from a different perspective. Honestly, something that I haven't really thought about too much, but I think that's valuable because I'm sure there's people listening to this right now who are either at the beginning of their thru-hike still or are going to be leaving, you know, the next couple weeks or months or just anytime soon. So I think that is kind of cool. People don't listen to this and listen to me and be like, oh, I have to like be like dead set on making it right from the start. Like there's other ways to approach the goal. There's other ways to approach the challenge.
Yeah, definitely. And to like just make sure you're enjoying the trail is I mean, I guess that was like my biggest thing about it. I didn't ever want to like not be enjoying the trail
right.
and be putting that goal above my desire to be out there, I guess, if that makes sense. Like, I had some friends that I started out with at the beginning that like absolutely set their sights on Katahdin, which is great, and then they decided to stop in the Whites, and I had so much respect for that because
Wow.
yeah, because they were just like, look, we're not happy out here, and this is like the best part of the trail. We want to return to this when we're ready. Yeah, and I just think that that's really beautiful in a way. I have a lot of respect for that too. You know, it's not just all about how many miles am I crushing, and did I make it to Katahdin? Did I quote unquote through hike? You know?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Absolutely. No, I think that's good to have on the show, because a lot of the other guests I've had on so far have kind of been in the same like mindset that I was, as in like, you know, very just gung-ho about making it, not wanting to skip anything, and just like, you know, and again, like you said, like there's nothing wrong with that. You know, I'm not, I don't regret
total
the
respect
way
for that too.
Exactly. Like I don't regret the way that I did it at all, but you know, it is good to highlight that there are other ways to approach it, you know, and at the end of the day, it's a vacation. I mean, like you don't want to be miserable the entire time on your vacation,
right.
I guess. I know that I did push myself quite a bit like that. And there are definitely times where I wasn't having fun, where I was just kind of in that grind mode. But at the end of the day, like chasing that goal was kind of fun in a way. It's like type 2 fun, right? It's like not necessarily fun at the time, but then at the end of the day, I look back on it, I'm like, oh yeah, when I was going up that mountain, like sweating my balls off, that was actually pretty dope. Like,
yeah. And I don't want to make it sound like I just every single day was like nothing but roses. You know, it was my worst time was in New York, actually, and even then, when I was at my lowest point, I still was like, okay, this sucks, but at the same time, like I also love being out here.
Yeah.
Weirdly, so it definitely sucked too. But you know, the whole cliche "embrace the suck" was.
That's like almost part of the fun sometimes. Like kind of go back to what I just said. Is just like making it through sometimes. I don't know. You got to find a balance. I feel like you can't just be like gung-ho all the time about just like, you know, crushing the miles and not having any fun. And I also feel like, I'm treading lightly saying this, but I also feel like it is kind of nice to have like some sort of direction, I guess, or like be driven a little bit to finish at the same time. You gotta kind of walk those two lines. I feel
it's a balance. Yeah,
for sure.
Yeah.
For sure. No, I think that's really cool. I think that's kind of refreshing, like I said. So with that said, we're going to talk a little bit about the beginning of your hike. So Rosie and I were talking, just kind of messaging a little bit earlier today, trying to come up with some topics to talk about tonight. And one of the things that she had mentioned was that she pretty much started on the couch and hit the trail and just kind of went with it. And she had, you know, I'll let you talk about this a little bit. I know you had said that you had tried like pretty hard not to get injured because you hadn't really trained at all. Can you just kind of talk a little bit about that first month and maybe some of your strategies to keep yourself healthy while you were kind of getting your trail legs per se?
Yeah. So I honestly think that the best advice that I got was that first week, don't do more than 8 miles. And the person that gave that advice meant it like across the board, regardless of fitness level, regardless, whatever you think you can handle, even if you could like crush 20 straight out of the gate, don't, because whatever it is you're doing at home, whatever kind of training you're doing, I don't know, it may or may not be something similar to the trail, but you still need to give your body time to adjust to something that is daily like this and all day. And so even if you get in to the shelter or camp before then, just give your body time to rest. And I thought whenever I read that advice, I was like, oh yeah, 8 miles, like I can do that. Like that's easy. I'll just stop early. Even if I'm feeling good, it's fine. And then I discovered Georgia's tough. And I was like, it felt like I was like crawling to the shelters at the end of the day at 8 miles, but that was because I just like slacked off and like wasn't doing anything at that point in time. But also if you're in that place and whoever is like listening and like about to set out and is just like gonna go for it, like I would just tell them, don't be discouraged when you see people blazing past you, because it's a mixed bag. A lot of people that were in really good shape, and this is nothing against them, But a lot of people that were in really good shape and able to crush those miles right out of the gate did end up with injuries. And I really think that advice that I got is what saved me from any injuries. Not that I was really capable of doing more than that to begin with.
No, I think that's really good advice. I'm sure those of you that are listening, if you've done any research at all, you've probably heard that before, and that's for good reason. That is super important. If anything, just so that you don't wear yourself out mentally. I mean, obviously, like the physical aspect, not getting an overuse injury while you're not in shape yet is like huge. But even if you are like Scott Jurek and you can just go out there and start crushing 20s right from Springer, I still feel like you might burn yourself out a little bit if you do that. You know, if anything, just give yourself some time to adjust to like the new lifestyle and the just like all the craziness, all the people that you're meeting, all these like new situations that you're finding yourself in. Like, I think that's so important. I know for me, I did train a little bit, not like super intensely, but I was in decent shape when I started.
Yeah, well, and you'd already done the long trails, so you knew kind of what to expect.
Yeah, I had done quite a bit of hiking, so I kind of like knew my limits, I guess. Doesn't mean I wasn't paranoid about getting injured, but I did still like start like a little bit slower than I like almost wanted to. I did like 15 my first day, not to break your rule, but I did like, that was honestly just because of the way the logistics worked out, or that's what I'm going to use as my excuse anyways. But I did take a couple lower days after that, a couple under 10 days after that. Even though I was feeling good, just because I knew that like I needed to ease myself into it. I was kind of making friends and all that stuff. So that is like such a important piece of advice that I would give to people. Even if you start late like me, I've had a couple people reach out and be like, hey Kyle, I'm starting, in mid-May like you did, what's like your advice or whatever. Like, even if you're starting in mid-May, you still have plenty of time, or you can flip if you have to. Like, don't get an injury right from the start, because then you're not going to make it at all, let alone too late. So definitely a huge piece of advice. So
yeah, I mean, do whatever you want. Do whatever you want, of course, but but I really think like that is the biggest thing that I attribute to like not having any injuries and going straight from the couch. And then, like I said, like even people that knew what they were doing and weren't in shape, some of them had to drop out.
Oh yeah, absolutely. I know that when I was kind of like thinking about this topic a little bit, like trying to come up with some questions, I know you just said a second ago that you had like purposely kind of listened to that advice. Were you like nervous or paranoid at all about getting injured before you started?
I wouldn't say I was paranoid about it. Especially because I knew that I was gonna take it slow and just like and like I said, I hadn't set my sights on Katahdin yet, so
that's kind of
I wasn't really nervous
right after I asked the question.
Yeah. So I wasn't like, oh, am I screwing myself over for a 6-month hike? I wasn't at that point yet.
Right. No, that makes a lot of sense. Like I said, like right after I asked that question, I was like, you know what? That kind of goes back to what we talked about at the beginning of the episode, because she wasn't really as concerned with making it the entire way, like through and through, I guess. So this is kind of like bringing out some of the differences in our hikes. I like this because I was like very, very paranoid at the beginning about getting injured. Honestly, the whole like first half of the trail, even, I was like pretty nervous about it. So I just kind of wanted to like see how you felt about that, but that kind of makes sense. All right. So I lost my train of thought, but we're back in it now. I'm really on my A game tonight, folks. No, we're going to talk a little bit about night hiking. Now, this isn't something that I've talked about too much with other guests. I think it might have come up a couple times, but I don't think I ever dedicated like a full-on section of the conversation to it. So I'm kind of excited to talk about this a little bit. So, Rosie, you God. Oh my God. I heard my audio come through your headphones a little bit after,
sorry.
and that no.
Is it throwing you off?
No. It like when I heard my little blah there, it was just super cringy, but that's hilarious. I can't wait for the blooper reel for this one. All right.
I don't know if I'm even going to be able to listen to this because I don't want to hear the sound of my voice.
Welcome.
I don't know how you do podcast.
I have a hard time listening back to my episodes too, honestly. Sometimes I'll like listen to like 30 seconds of the introduction, and then as soon as I start like asking people to like follow me on Instagram and like review the like all the like the stereotypical like YouTube or like podcast like introductions,
be sure to leave me 5 stars. Like, I have to nope out after that. But so good. No, we're going to talk about night hiking a little bit. So this is something that I don't really do that much, or not something that I do purposefully anyways. I've done it like a couple times, sometimes on like weekend hikes or section hikes. You get to the trailhead kind of late after work or class or whatever, and you got to hike in a couple miles. But I definitely haven't done that much night hiking, maybe a couple like sunrise and sunset hikes too, but that's about it. So
can I ask why?
Honestly, I don't really have a good answer for that. Like, I'm trying to think why.
I mean, if you just don't want to, is totally legitimate too. I'm just curious. It sounds like you're purposeful about it.
The reason I'm kind of like tripped up about it is because I don't really have like anything against it either. Like, I just like don't, I guess I don't really do it unless I have like an actual need to. So kind of going back to what I just said, like if I'm going to do like a sunset hike or like a sunrise hike or like going to the trailhead late, something
maybe
like that.
You're just a fast hiker, so you can get to your locations in time.
Yeah, I mean, I guess I am kind of a fast hiker too. There was never really a time where I had to night hike but like not by choice, I guess.
Yeah, I'm a self-proclaimed very mediocre hiker. I was slow even towards the end. I was always the slowest of whatever trail family I was with at that point. And there's nothing wrong with that either, but it definitely made for some night hikes too. And I ended up really learning to love them.
Yeah, so if you said that you kind of enjoy them, then did you ever like do it on purpose per se too, or was it usually just kind of at the end of the day when you kind of ran? I don't want to say you ran out of time. Just when you were kind of like getting in later, I guess.
Yeah, so they started out, I guess, because I was running out of time. But then I ended up just really enjoying them. And at that point, I wasn't worried about getting to a certain place at a certain time. So I guess at that point, it was on purpose.
Okay.
Does that make sense?
No, that makes sense for sure.
Yeah.
So why did you kind of come to enjoy it then? I don't know. Try to convince me to do some more night hikes here, Rosie.
I don't know if I can convince you. Because I it's hard to describe like even why I enjoyed it. I guess it's the same reason why I enjoyed getting up really early, like even before the sun was up. Because I just felt at that point that the trail belonged to me. Which is maybe a weird thing to say, but have you ever had that experience where maybe you got up early to go to work and it's maybe in winter time and so it's dark still later on and you just kind of feel like the world is quiet?
Yeah, I think I know what you're saying. I'm usually like not a morning person, but okay. I know what you're going for there. I don't think I'm gonna convince you. You can still try.
Yeah, but yeah, so I had that same feeling. I just felt like I was I didn't night hike solo all the time. There were several times where I had other people, but whoever I was with, it just felt like, I don't know, whatever was spread in front of us, whatever part of trail, it just felt like it totally belonged to us. And I don't really know how to describe it exactly, but I don't know, it was just magical. Like once golden hour hit and then it was dusk and then the sun like finally like dipped all the way and then the stars started coming out if you happen to be on a bald or a place where there were stars that you could see. It felt like a totally different trail and like a different world. And you know what? The reason why I think now talking about it, why I enjoyed it so much was even in Virginia right before I decided to go to Georgia to do the first 100 miles and then see how I felt. I was walking in the woods behind my house and I could see the woods from my house. And I knew them, like, I knew the trails back there, like the back of my hand, because I was walking them every day. And which, by the way, I would not call them like hikes. It was definitely just walks. It was like flat ground. It was not AT. And whenever the sun set, it felt scary. Like being on the outskirts of the woods and like seeing it change and then hearing like the different sounds that would come out of it. It just felt totally different and like a foreign world, but a really, really scary one. And And that's when my heart would like leap into my throat, and I felt like I couldn't swallow because I was like, I'm going to be living in that. I'm going to be in those woods, either in my tent or I'm going to be in a shelter, and there isn't going to be anybody that I know at first, and I'm just going to have to do it.
Yeah.
It just felt like a totally foreign concept, and it really scared me. And once I started hiking the AT and I started sleeping in the woods at night and it became less foreign, then I started getting like a little bit braver and a little bit braver. And I started enjoying like even being by myself with like just my headlamp and seeing just 5 feet in front of me, and like trusting I'm the scariest thing that's going to come across in the woods, or if I'm not, like I'll be able to handle it.
Right.
And I don't know, like I guess I just felt really empowered doing that. Now that I'm talking about it, like I think that's part of why I enjoyed it so much. It wasn't just that it felt like a totally different trail. It just felt like I'm literally walking by myself at night in the woods, and it feels amazing.
That's pretty badass. Yeah, for sure. That makes a lot of sense. Honestly,
does that convince you?
I don't know if I'm convinced, but I will say that some of my favorite memories, not even from the AT, because I didn't really have too many experiences like this on the AT, but especially from the long trail, there's a number of like shelters and campsites on the long trail that have like views where you can like see the sky pretty extensively, I guess. And
yeah,
like I said, some of my like best memories from that trail are at spots like that at night, where you can see not only the stars and stuff, but you can also see like down into the valley and see like the lights from the city and everything. I guess you can't really call it a city in Vermont because there's really not any cities here, but the towns and all that stuff. And that is definitely one of like the coolest things I've ever seen hiking. I know actually it did happen one time on the AT. I was in Shenandoah, and we like purposely.
Oh, interesting.
We like purposely stayed at a campsite. It wasn't even a campsite. It was like a view marked in AWOL. And thanks to Gut Hook, we knew that there might have been some stealth spots there and some water nearby. So we kind of posted up there, and like I took like some awesome pictures there. I should probably post some of those on Instagram, or the video I took just like sitting out on this like rock ledge, like cooking my dinner, like right next to my hammock. Like it was so beautiful. So I definitely know where you're coming from, you know, with the whole night thing being cool. I feel like for me, I prefer to like be able to just like stay in one spot at night and like kind of take in those night views rather than like keep moving per se.
Yeah, I hear that too.
I feel like I kind of needed to throw that out there because it's not like I just like as soon as the sun goes down, I'm just like out and don't want anything to do with anything either. I don't know. I don't know. So one question I gotta ask this, because honestly, I don't want to say I'm like super scared about this, but I'm definitely a little bit sketched out about hiking at night. Mostly because of snakes, honestly, but I'll kind of open it up to any wildlife in general. Did you ever see like any eyes through the woods or like come close to any snakes at night or anything sketchy like that while you were hiking? I had to ask.
No.
I had to
ask. Yeah. Okay. So I know you've got a thing about snakes.
This is
but,
true.
Yeah. So I guess the short answer is no, not really. I don't even know if this is true, but one of my friends, also from the South, told me that copperheads smell like cucumber when they're like
Wait, what?
rattled. Yeah. I don't. So don't quote me on this. Everyone out there, someone verify. I've literally tried to look this up multiple times
right now.
I've tried to look this up so many times, and I can't. Like, it seems.
What do I even search? Copperheads smell like
cucumber. Yeah. But it was weird. I don't know if it was a mental thing because it is night hiking, and so like you're a little bit more on edge or what, but every once in a while I would smell like very strongly. I would smell the scent of cucumber, I swear.
Oh boy.
Yeah, so I don't know, but I never actually saw them. Of course, copperheads are a little more on the shy side, so I don't know, but every once in a while I would, and the other people I'd be hiking with at night would be like, yeah, I smell it too. So are you finding it? Are you finding it? Does it say that it's not true? Because I've literally tried to look this up so many times, and it seems like it goes both ways.
Right now I'm on the aptly named copperheadsnake.net, and this says, let's see, another one is that, this is like myths about copperheads. But
Is it
but
myth? Okay,
no,
it's a
no.
myth.
But it like contradicts. It's okay. So this is under the myth section. It says another one is that it smells like cucumber, which is generally not true, as they only secrete an odor resembling cucumber when they feel threatened, such as when intruders pass by. So maybe it is true.
Yes.
Copperheadsnake.net. Somebody go verify this site because it does look kind of sketchy. I'm not gonna lie.
Yes,
but
someone please, because I really want to know.
I would believe
I couldn't
it.
find anything. Yeah, I couldn't find anything. But it was weird because walking out in the woods, it was only at night I would actually, well, for the most part, I should say, it was like, I don't know, 70-30.
Right.
I would smell all of a sudden this very strong scent of cucumber. And maybe it was just one of my friends that told me that to begin with during a night hike where I got nervous. And then after that, like my brain just triggered that at night. I don't know.
Or maybe your friends were like just fucking with you the whole time and they like brought out cucumbers on purpose to like further prove their point.
But that's the thing. I wasn't with them. I wasn't with the same people the whole time.
Were they ahead of you?
So
Maybe they like dropped some along the trail. No, I think
they did it on
I
purpose.
think that's too far.
Wow, that would be quite the prank.
Cucumbers are heavy too, so yeah. I'm gonna say no to that one.
Like it honestly triggers me now. Whenever I smell this, like someone's like burning a smell of a cucumber or cucumber water or whatever, it like makes me nervous. And I'm like, why am I nervous right now? And then I remember, oh yeah, the snakes at night.
That is so. I'm like glad I didn't know that when I was hiking because I feel like I wouldn't be able to go to like barbecues anymore, like in case someone was like grilling some cucumbers. Oh,
okay, people that are on the 18 now that are listening to this, please tell us if you smell and then also see a copperhead.
Yes, absolutely.
Man, what was even the original?
I don't even know.
Wildlife. Yeah. Scary wildlife. Yeah, at night. No, the scariest moment that happened for me at night was, so I started, I can't even remember, one of the New England towns, I want to say. Okay, what was that? Upper Goose Pond. Do you remember Upper Goose Pond? It was really, really nice. Okay, what was the town before that?
Oh, let's see. I actually hung out with a friend from college like the day before I passed there. So like Great Barrington. That's what it is. I didn't go there because I was with my buddy, but I remember passing it. Yeah.
Well, okay, so I had kind of a crazy day. I left Great Barrington around 11 a.m. and then I learned about Upper Goose and the blueberry pancakes that exist there. And I decided that I was going to do 28 miles after a start. By the way, I'm a slow hiker, okay? But I decided I'm going to do 28 miles after 11 a.m. And I convinced someone else, another friend that I run into, I convinced them to join me as well. And as we're hiking, obviously, it's going to end up being nighttime, which neither one of us have a problem with. And when it does, we hear what we think is the sound of a bear, like in the distance. And we had heard that there were even signs posted that there was a really active bear in the area. So we were nervous that we were going to run into it because we could hear the sounds in the distance. And until then, I hadn't heard what I still believe was a disgruntled bear. And all of a sudden at this point it's like pitch black. We just have our headlamps and both of them happen to be dying, like on low battery. No. So like fading. But we see something hunched over a Trail Magic cooler that was left like in the woods. Off of this dirt road, and we think it's a bear. So we start clicking our poles at it because we had been hearing this sound for miles of a bear, and a hiker looks up at us and was like, "What are you guys doing?" So no, that's literally the extent of the scary things that I saw in the woods. Was another hiker that then joined our conga line.
Okay, that's good.
To blueberry pancakes in the morning. So yeah, that's why I'm totally on board with night hiking. Like I didn't see any snakes. I only supposedly smell them. We'll see if that's even a thing. But yeah, I saw less wildlife at night than I did during the day. Although, I mean, like you hear things, but that's it.
No eyes like off in the distance, like being lit up by the headlamp.
No, but you know what? One early morning at like 4 a.m., I did accidentally get between what I still believe is a baby moose and a mama moose.
Wow.
And that was scary. Those things sound like dinosaurs walking through.
Oh, yeah. Moose are so crazy.
Yeah, that freaked me out. But that was the scariest. And that wasn't late evening. That was early morning.
Yeah.
Though I guess still at night.
Yeah, I actually had a moose
I can't remember if I've told this story on the show before. I had a moose come into a campsite at like 5 a.m, like that.
No
I
way.
didn't see it.
Came into a campsite?
It came into a campsite, yeah. So it wasn't a shelter. It was just like a established campsite there. And we were all just, I mean, I was in my hammock, a couple other people around, and I didn't actually see it. But yeah, I was just like snoozing away. Definitely wasn't getting up at 5 a.m. that day. And then I just woke up to, yo, there's a moose in our campsite from my friend Indy. So I like bolted up. I got out of my hammock and like I kind of heard it run away. And like I said, it was already gone by the time I got out of my hammock. But Indy said that he had like a clear view of it underneath his tarp because he was in a hammock as well. And he's like, yeah, dude, it was just like walking around our campsite. And I heard it like walking around for a few minutes. And then once I actually saw it, that's when he like yelled out to us. So that was an interesting way to wake up that morning. Those
wow,
things are crazy.
That is a very brave moose.
I know. I guess he wasn't too brave because he didn't want to stick around to meet us, but I'm kind of thankful for that anyway. So that was in Maine, of course, because that's really the only place you're most likely going to see moose. Yeah, for sure. Yeah. Kind of back to the night thing. The last question I had about this is, did you ever like get off the trail or like get lost at all while you were hiking at night?
I don't think so.
No?
Which makes me think that probably no. Otherwise, I think I would. I
feel like you probably would have known.
Remember something really dramatic.
Because I feel like that's
but no,
that's something that like could potentially go wrong.
No. And I don't want to sound like I'm totally advocating like night hiking and like, just go for it kind of.
Oh, no. That's not what you're doing. Don't worry.
Yeah, no, like be smart about it, obviously.
Have extra batteries. That's pretty important.
Yes, have extra. Yeah, please learn from me. Have extra batteries. No, the scariest thing, let's see, besides the moose thing, which, like I said, was early morning, was, I guess, I got caught. So I was telling you earlier, before we started recording, that I had to clean up some miles in Virginia.
Yeah.
And whenever I went back to finish those miles, I was hiking southbound, and while I was there, I hit so much rain. And this was back when hurricane season was in full effect.
Yeah.
And I was hiking by myself at night and got caught one night in a pretty intense rainstorm, and I didn't know people around me. There weren't hikers like waiting for me that like knew that I'd be missing, and that was the sketchiest time where I was like, okay, I'm gonna be lucky if I make it, and this was not smart. I'm not gonna make this mistake again. I'm gonna check the weather.
Yeah.
If the weather's bad, I'm not doing this. So yeah,
just gotta play it safe.
Yeah, definitely play it safe on that end.
Definitely. If anybody listening to this has like any cool like night hiking stories or like sketchy stories, definitely let me know, because I'd love to hear that. Or maybe I don't want to hear it. Maybe that's just going to convince me to not night hike even more. I don't know. I don't know. I think we're going to kind of transition. We're going to talk about something called the 4-State Challenge. Now, I'm sure a lot of you have heard of this. Maybe some of you haven't. Maybe you PCT people, West Coast people. That sounded mean. I don't mean to make fun of you, because I do have quite a bit of people that listen to this from California, but maybe some people that aren't as familiar with the AT haven't heard of this. What it is, to my understanding, is basically when you hike through 4 states in one shot. So the AT, it is like, I think, is it like 40-ish something miles, right?
So ours, I don't know what the actual thing is. Ours ended up being 46 something because we did a couple side trails for some views. So I can't remember the actual amount of just the state.
You did side trails while you were in the midst of like a 40-mile day. Oh man.
Yes. My friend Treebeard really was about the views, and we hit a view at sunset at just the perfect time, and we couldn't resist. So
nice.
Yep.
So for what this is basically you start in Virginia, you cross through West Virginia, and then you hike all of Maryland, and then you get into Pennsylvania at the end of the challenge, or vice versa if you're going southbound.
Right.
Obviously.
So you don't really hike through 4 states, but you do end up hitting 4 states. I guess
hike in
like
4 states in one day.
Yeah, you hit I guess through 2 states, but yeah, hit 4.
Right. So my first question about this, again, for those of you that don't know, the trail in West Virginia only has a couple miles, and most of it's through a town called Harper's Ferry. So I had a buddy that I hiked with later on in the trail, after we had already gotten well past Harper's Ferry, but this guy named Classic, and he had told me about how he did the 4-state challenge, and he was in Harper's Ferry, and he hiked back to Virginia, like southbound to Virginia, just to start the challenge, and then redo it just to do it. So I was going to ask you, like, did you do something like that, or like did you just like kind of blow right through Harper's Ferry for the challenge?
No, so we actually, one of our a trail family member's parents were in town, so we left Virginia, got picked up from the West Virginia crossing, and we spent a full day in Harper's Ferry so we could enjoy it and we could like get our Polaroid and all of that. Yeah. A day before when it was all going to be open, which this is the way that I recommend doing it.
Yeah.
And spent some time in Harper's Ferry. So we got to enjoy it. And then we got a drop off. Just thankfully, like I said, one of our trail members' families were in town. And was able to do this for us. They dropped us off at like 2 or 3 in the morning, 2 miles out from that. This is one of the reasons why it's so long, because you have to be dropped off, I think 2 or 3 miles from the actual West Virginia border crossing. So that adds some mileage right there. And then you hike all through West Virginia. So when we were actually hiking through it, it was pitch black and nothing was open. And then went through all of Maryland and then ended up hitting Pennsylvania, which it took us. We were lucky that we made it under the 24 hours. It took us literally all day.
Yeah, I can imagine. Honestly, yeah, one of the reasons why I never really considered doing it was because I didn't really want to just like blow through Harper's Ferry like that. But the fact that you like had those circumstances, had that opportunity, definitely makes it a lot more appealing. I still don't know if I would do it, but like that makes a lot more sense. So I guess I'll ask you why. Why did you decide to do it?
That's a good question. I don't really know the answer.
I feel like there's not like a definitive answer to that. I'm just kind of curious.
Yeah, it's almost
like,
almost like asking like why put yourself like why hike 2,194 miles?
Very
like
true.
Why do that? So I guess part of it was one of our trail family members was just really into doing all of the AT challenges, and this was one of them. Yep. And 2, I wanted to challenge myself. Like I said, I'm a pretty mediocre hiker as far as like speed goes, and like being ultralight and all of that stuff. Like I don't know what I'm doing. But I thought maybe I could challenge myself distance wise. Maybe I have like some endurance, and I don't know. I just thought it'd be a fun challenge. Like, I don't know, why not?
Yeah.
And I think the biggest thing though was you're in Virginia, which by the way, I enjoyed Virginia, but you're in Virginia for what feels like comparatively forever.
Yeah.
So if you can go from being in a state for a month or over a month to hitting 4 states in a day, it feels pretty good.
That's so badass, for real. Yeah, that makes a lot more sense. I mean, again, like it's not like there's like a definitive like, oh, I did it because of reason A or reason B. I was just kind of curious about like why you decided to, I guess.
I guess we just wanted to challenge ourselves. Yeah. We just want to see if we could.
Which makes a lot of sense. I feel like if I had been hiking with somebody who like really wanted to do it, then maybe I would have considered it. But I was like kind of by myself for a couple days around that time. So I was like, nope.
Yeah, I don't know that I'd do it by myself. If you do the 4-state challenge by yourself, like kudos for you, because I don't think I'd be doing that.
And kudos to my friend Classic for hiking southbound all the way back to the Virginia border just to start over and do like that's nuts. I couldn't do that.
That is awesome.
He also said that he did the 24 challenge.
Oh, the 24. Oh, that is madness.
I know.
To me.
I feel like he might have been stretching the truth a little bit with that one. That's I believe maybe
you're gonna call him a liar on your podcast.
He doesn't even like have a Facebook, so he's never gonna hear this. So yeah, I'm gonna call you a liar, Classic. Fuck you. No, just kidding. Oh, that's funny. Okay. So we're gonna transition into a topic that has how do I phrase this? We're going to transition into something a little bit less goofy, I guess, as the 4-state challenge. So one of the things that I found kind of unique about Rosie's thru-hike was that she is married, and
she still somehow like made this. See, I say somehow like it's like somehow made this work, but no, like, she still made this hike work, and that is something that's pretty unique. I don't know if I've ever had a guest on that was married when they did their through hike. I don't think so. I guess Russell Korfman was. I don't know, but we didn't talk about it. So, anyways, we're gonna talk a little bit about that. I'm gonna pretend to be a really, really bad like therapist, I guess, during this. Not really. Okay, so how long had you and your husband been together when you set out for your through hike?
7 years.
7 years, so quite a while.
Yeah. Oh, actually, sorry. By the time I started, like 6 years. Yeah.
Okay, cool. It's still a long time. And how did he like kind of react when you said that you wanted to go do this?
He wasn't surprised. I guess he's just, after 6 years, he was used to me being like this. In fact, I was asking him before this, I was like asking him a few questions like, how did you feel? I just want like a refresher. And did you ever like want to stop me or prevent me from doing this, or like maybe like try to curb my desire to do this or something like that? And he was like, no, I know you well enough that you're pretty strong-willed. Like once you set your mind to something, you're gonna do it. Right. And yeah, no, he was just totally supportive the entire time from the get-go once I presented it. Yeah,
which is really awesome. So I guess the question I have written down here, which I could probably elaborate and ramble on about for a minute, but I'm just gonna say it. How did you guys make it work? Like see, there I go. I'm not gonna ramble. How did you guys make it work?
I guess I feel like we're almost cheating because distance is just something that's been built into our relationship from the beginning. Like I said earlier, he's military.
Okay.
So there have been several times where I've been the one that's like held down the fort or whatever for 6 months while he's been gone. And I think that probably gives me a lot of maybe credit, I guess, to be able to do something like this. Just because I'm used to him being gone, and I don't know, distance has just always been built into our relationship. Like even from the beginning while we were dating, it was long distance. Mm-hmm. And we're just used to that, and we know how to make that work, and it's not something weird or foreign or like I don't know how to survive without you kind of thing, you know?
Right. Makes sense for sure. Were there any times where I'm really trying to like phrase this right, or as right as I can.
You can phrase it however you want. It's fine.
Okay. Did you guys almost? No, just kidding. Were there? That didn't even make sense.
Did we almost divorce because of the trail? I mean, like
that's the joke I was gonna make. That's not what I was gonna actually ask. That was my joke that did not come out well at all. But no. Were there any like stressful times, I guess, while you were hiking because of just being away for so long? Can people listening to this tell I haven't had a girlfriend in like a long time and don't really think about relationships too often?
Stressful. I mean, I would say there's probably like periods that would be more convenient if I had been home, but overall, like I said, distance has just always been built in and something that we're used to. But how we made it work was I prioritized. I knew from the beginning that we'd be moving from Virginia to Texas, which is where we're living now, while I was on the trail, and I knew that'd be a difficult transition. So I had planned from the beginning to come off trail to help us move. And while we were moving, I was off trail for 2 weeks. While we were moving, we figured out a way to make it work to where he could come on trail for a week after we moved. And he was able to see like what the trail culture is really like. And all of that. And I would say, I mean, he tells me now, but he would never have told me in the beginning because he always wanted to be supportive. But before he was able to experience the trail, he was kind of nervous about what I was doing.
Which I feel like is pretty like reasonable for somebody who hasn't experienced that.
Right. I mean, you would hope you hope someone that cares about you is like a little nervous when you say like, hey, I'm going to like hike for a while and I don't know when I'm going to come back. Like, it might be 6 months or it might be like 2 weeks.
Yeah.
I mean, like, especially with me, like, I don't know what I'm doing, you know, like, do I want to do 100 miles or do I want to do 2,000 something? I'm not sure.
Right.
And he always knew it was open-ended for me. But yeah, once he was able to come onto the trail, and this was like, I think a month after I'd been on trail, and he really experienced what it's like, he was even more so all about it. And one of the things, which I guess, first off, if you're trying to make it work with a relationship, like, be with someone that's gonna be supportive about your goals and dreams, you know? And he's just always been that way, so much so that he was the person that I'd be texting if I was, I don't know, irrationally scared about something. He would be the one responding to my text messages saying, like, hey, it's okay, like, whatever's going on. And he always tried to help, like, lighten my gear load. And the biggest thing that he did that helped me from being on the trail was he, towards the end, whenever I started weighing, while I was in New York. I think I told you earlier, New York was the roughest state for me. And
it was for me too, honestly. Side note. So you're not alone there.
Yeah. I listened to when you ranked all the states. Yeah, I totally agree. New York was the worst. New York was the worst. Sorry, New York. I got over it in the end, but yeah, for a while, New York, like, emotionally was just like the roughest for me, and mentally and physically, like, just all the ways. New York was the worst, and that was the only time where I would say, whenever I was weighing whether or not I wanted to be on trail or not be on trail, that was the closest it ever got for maybe I don't want to be on trail.
Okay.
And that's when he started writing letters to me. So whatever states I had up ahead, I knew that there was a letter waiting for me at a post office.
Oh, that's so sweet.
Yeah, I know, that's like super cornball and like gross, and people are probably like gagging right now, but yeah. It just really encouraged me. Like, I was like, I've got a letter to pick up in, and
it's still like a way for him to be like involved in the hike, beyond just like a text message, obviously, like still being able to like almost like give like some sort of like comfort beyond just like your cell phone screen, I guess. I don't know. Yeah. That definitely makes a lot of sense. I can't relate for obvious reasons, but like I people who might be hiking that have a significant other or a spouse, like, definitely back home, that is, definitely take note of that. Like, I think that's a really cool idea.
Yeah, honestly, it wasn't even him that like made it hard to be in a relationship while on the trail. It was other people that made it difficult. Like, other people's opinions. Yeah, and for the most part, I just like brushed it off. Like, you have no idea like what my relationship's like.
Yeah, so that's actually that's what my last question on this topic was going to be. So I don't agree with this, but I'm just kind of curious to know, because I've heard people like say this too. And again, I feel like on the surface, like, it's kind of reasonable, especially for someone who doesn't really know very much about thru-hiking or the Appalachian Trail. But I feel like some people might consider it kind of selfish to take off like that. While you're married, while you have like a serious significant other, what would you say to people that have that opinion?
Well, the first thing I would say is it's none of your business.
Yeah. I feel like that's the real answer, but you know what I'm going for.
But for other people, and I mean, like, it wouldn't be something that I would do if it made my significant other or spouse or partner or whatever, however you want to classify it, uncomfortable, but at the same time, I wouldn't be, maybe this is just me, but I wouldn't be married to somebody that would have a problem with something like that, and that's more like a personal thing. Yeah But I don't know, I don't really see how it's, I mean, like, maybe if you have kids, obviously that's like a totally different ballgame. But
that adds in a whole nother factor too. Yeah, for sure.
But the selfish thing, like, I don't know. Maybe I deal with it less because I've already dealt with him being gone multiple times. So I don't see distance as being something selfish. It's just something to navigate around. And
right.
Maybe if you have that kind of opinion, I would look more at like, okay, do you have kind of a limited view on like what marriage is or like what relationships are? You know what I mean? Because for me, it's more like, okay, am I with somebody that supports my goals and dreams? And at that point in time, that was a goal and dream of mine, you know?
Right.
And I'm so thankful that he was like behind me 100%. And if the roles had been reversed, I would have been behind him 100%. And that's what he told me, even when I was asking him before, like just for refreshers on how he felt before we started recording. He was like, no, the biggest emotion like I felt that could have been construed as negative is just jealous. Like I wish I could go out and do that, and like one day I will. And yeah, so no, he was 100% supportive.
No, I think that's so awesome that you made that work. It's really awesome that he was so supportive, obviously, as well. Maybe you'll have to try to convince him to come with you for your next one. What do you say?
Oh my gosh, I wish. Yeah, we'll see. It so many factors, but yeah, I'm trying.
Gotta try.
Yeah, that's the goal. Like our goal would be CDT together.
Oh, there you go.
Yeah. But we'll see how many years it takes. It might be a few. It might be a lot. We'll just see. We'll see.
Well, you got plenty of time. The trail's not going anywhere, which is my favorite, like, cringy hiking statement to say.
No, I love that. It is cringy, but I don't care. I love that. It's reassuring. It's like, okay, PCT 2020, and at first I was on board with this, and now because I just got a job, I can't be, and that's what I just keep telling myself. I'm like, the trail's still going to be there.
Oh,
it's
yeah.
Okay.
You got plenty of time. All right. So I think we're going to kind of get into the last segment of the show, my favorite segment. People who listen to the show are probably going to repeat the words I'm about to say, like word for word, because I pretty much say the same thing every time. But story time. That's right. I should get like a theme song for this segment.
You should, yeah.
If anybody listening to this can play guitar and sing, or even if you can't, like you could try, maybe come up with like a little like Trail Tales Storytime theme song. That'd be sweet. Anyways, so Rosie, I always like to ask my guests at the end to just share a couple stories, anything at all related to their thru hike. Whether it's hitchhiking, in town, out of town, I don't even care. Like somewhere not even on the trail while you were taking a break from the trail. I don't know, anything at all related to your hike. So what do you want to share with my little audience here tonight?
Gosh, so much. Like, it's such a hard question, really, because
it is,
it's so open-ended.
Actually, it's not always. Like, I feel like there's some people that have, like, the one, like, definitive story.
Yeah, maybe.
And then there's other people that have, like, so much, like, kind of like you just said, that you, like, just don't even know where to start. But unfortunately, we have to pick a couple, so.
Okay, yeah. So, it's like super cliche to say, but I mean, it's so true that the trail just provides exactly what you need. And I guess one of the most like profound moments for me was, so I left Ricefield Shelter. This is what I was telling you earlier, that I had some miles to clean up in Virginia, and that's because my grandmother passed away while I was on the trail. And she hadn't passed away yet whenever I got the call. And so I left Ricefield Shelter, which is right outside of Parisburg. And like I had just filled up a huge food bag ready to go. Yeah. And then that evening, like once we made it to the shelter is like when I got the call. And so that next morning, 2 days later, was going to be my birthday. And my trail family was going to surprise me with a mug cake. And so they just decided, I told them like, hey, I have to go. I have to hike back down into Parisburg and leave. This is going on. And so they celebrated my birthday there. And they sang me happy birthday. They even packed out candles, which like
nice.
What it's like, as you know, you're an ultralighter, right? I don't know.
I try.
So that's a pretty big deal. But yeah, that morning we watched the sunrise together, and they celebrated my birthday, and then I left, and I didn't even know if I would ever see them again. I didn't know if I'd even be coming back to trail because my grandma hadn't passed away yet. And so it wasn't something where I was going to be like, like TikTok, like I have something to do. It was just always, I mean, like I said from the beginning, like this whole thing was just open-ended for me. And if I didn't make it back, like that's okay too. Mm-hmm. And that's how I approached it. And So because of that, I was sad. I didn't think I'd ever see them again, and I wasn't even sure if I'd return to the trail. Well, 2.5 weeks later, I was back on the trail, and I decided to return in the shinnies instead of where I stopped. And I always told myself, okay, if I make it to Katahdin and I still want to keep hiking, like I'll come back and scoop up these miles, and that's what I ended up doing. So that's why I call my trek a mostly no-bow, because I hiked those miles southbound.
That's a new one.
Yeah.
I like that.
So my first day back on trail, I'm a little like uneasy, like, should I be back here? Should I be doing this kind of thing? And it was like I said, my first day back, I was in the shinnies, and literally I'm hiking like maybe 45 minutes. As I'm hiking, I hear behind me, "Hey, is that Rosie?" And and I turn around, and it's my friend Robin Hood. And then behind Robin Hood is my friend Treebeard and Mouse King and Happy Feet. And literally all of the people that I left at Ricefield Shelter were the first people I saw back on trail.
So you guys didn't like coordinate to like meet up there?
No, I didn't coordinate with them at all. And it was crazy to me. And that was it just felt like a sign, like, yep, no, I'm good. I'm where I'm supposed to be. Yeah,
absolutely. I kind of assumed that when you said you skipped up to the shinnies that you did that to like get back with your trail family. Which
it was purely like just logistics. I had a friend in that area that I knew could pick me up from the airport, and at that point, like, yeah, me and my husband were already we had moved to Texas at that point, and so I didn't have really anybody that could just like come pick me up and drop me off like exactly where I need to be, except for I had one friend that was nearby the shinnies, and I was like, that could work. And so I was dropped off there, and I was also worried about making it, like I said, I'm a slow hiker, so I was worried about making it to Katahdin in time before it closed.
Yeah, with the weeks off like that. Makes sense. Yeah. Wow, that's so incredible. And then you just happened to just right as soon as you got back on the trail.
Yeah, it's pretty great.
That's so amazing. Wow. How long like did you hike with that group after that?
That's a good question. I want to say a month or so.
Oh, nice.
Yeah,
okay,
I had to hop on and off trail. I was off trail 3 times, so it was a little disjointed. Yeah, but
oh, that's awesome. That's awesome.
I think I've got another month then.
All right. Well, I think that's all we got then. Rosie, thank you so much for taking the time to do this. Thank you for like kind of working out like the time and the days, and we kind of had a little back and forth with trying to set this up. We weren't even sure if it was going to happen, and it did, absolutely. And it was awesome. So I really, really, really appreciate that. Thank you very much. So with that said, the last question I want to ask before we go is, what does the future hold for you as far as hiking goes?
So it's kind of like my AT hike. It's pretty open-ended. This next week I'm looking at just like some really small hikes around Big Bend, but as far as through hiking goes, I don't know. I was thinking PCT 2020, but then I got a job that I'm super excited to share about that kind of gives back to nature, and I'll start that in April, and that's going to kind of determine when I through hike again. But I definitely want to, I'm looking at a Triple Crown, but we'll see.
Absolutely, yeah. That's what I was going for. I know it's tough to like hold somebody to like a specific like time period, but I just kind of wanted to hear like what your thoughts are as far as doing another one, and it sounds like you were excited about that, which is amazing.
It's there, but I don't know. It's always an if for me. It's always a we'll see.
Right. Okay. I know that the way that we got in contact was because I had followed you on Instagram this past summer when we were both hiking. So for the people that want to go and check out some of your photos and stuff, Rosie has some really, really awesome stuff on there. Where can they go to do that?
They can go to ramblin.rosie. It's RAMBLIN .ROSIE on Instagram, and that's it. That's all I've got.
Awesome. All right. Well, that's a wrap then. Rosie, don't hang up quite yet. But to everybody listening, thank you so much. Here, I'm going to try to rattle off all the times that people listen to podcasts. So enjoy the rest of your drive or your work or your hike. Can't forget that one. Or your laundry folding, your snow shoveling, your treadmill, running. Oh man, I feel like there's some more I'm forgetting. Rosie, when are some times that you listen to podcasts or you could see somebody listening to a podcast?
Pretty much just when I'm driving. You already covered
Driving.
it. Yeah.
So that's what like most people say, or they say hiking, which is, to be fair, that's like the only times I ever listen to podcasts. So I don't know. Thank you so much for listening, everybody. Rosie, thank you again. Everybody, have a good one.